I'm Natasha, and if you're watching this, I'm going to talk about the planet Saturn. So, to start off with, what is Saturn? So, I like to explain if Saturn was an actual human figure or archetype, Saturn would be a very restrictive, kind of stoic, reserved kind of person. This is the kind of person, if Saturn was a human being, this person would have like 2-3 outfits in their closet, and they would just put that on rotation. They'd only own 1 or 2 pairs of shoes. They would be so focused on working on their craft or whatever they're passionate about every single day, almost all day long, to do the hard work, figure out the setbacks, the hardships, the weird things that they didn't know about before every single day in order to master whatever craft or thing that they are trying to develop, grow, build, whatever it is, into something a lot bigger. And so Saturn energy, if it was like a person, understands this hard dedication that is so freaking slow. It is not short-term fast. It is thinking about longevity, what is going to last the test of time, what is going to be durable and reliable, what is going to build a very strong foundation, this strong basis in order to then build up. But if your foundation is really weak or it was rushed, you didn't think about all the little things and details and all these different outliers that you might not encounter on a regular day basis. And sometimes that just requires experience and life experience, and things in the world also change, and then you have to maneuver around things like that. So Saturn understands this long, very hard, restrictive energy, but it is something that it is willing to work on. It is something that it is passionate about in order to do it. Otherwise, if you don't care about it, usually you have zero motivation to even try, but Saturn understands if you really want something, like you really want it, and it seems so unreachable and far away, well, you still have to start somewhere. You have to figure out the process, try it, actually get out there and try again, but never quit, never change your mind, not like, oh, I don't think this is for me because it was hard. No, Saturn energy understands that you have to push through hardship. You have to be restricted and squeezed. So Saturn, just like the figure that only owns 2 outfits in their closet, they know that even though they want all these things, they want nice things, they want luxury, like a luxury lifestyle, they want a lot of money, they want status, that you just don't get there if you started from absolutely nothing. They didn't get an inheritance of like, oh, all the work is done, and so you just get to enjoy. That's not Saturn. So Saturn understands that if I want something in the long run that's going to last and be secured or make me feel successful, then I'm going to spend, a period of time or maybe a long time being very restrictive. Like, even though I want something and I have the money to go get it, that doesn't mean I go get it. That's Saturn. It's like, no, I have to restrict right now. I need to save 90% of my income in order to start this business that I'm so devoted to. It is the, Jeff Bezos in an office starting from nothing. It is all these big CEOs that started from nothing and now they're huge empires, but nobody really wants to really look and feel the burden and pain and hardship of the process. but that is Saturn energy. And Saturn takes about 30 years to go through all of the 12 zodiac signs. So that's how slow it is. So everyone experiences their first Saturn return in the age bubble of 30. You might enter your Saturn return lesson around the age 27, 28, and you might think, this is great, this is what I want, or whatever. And then a little bit after the age of 30, 31, 32, 33, it plays out differently based on what lessons are you supposed to be learning, or what did you avoid, or you just didn't quite get it without this real life experience. And so after that, you might have a different shift in perspective. You become more of a real adult, not this paper legal adult, like you're 18, therefore you're an adult in the eyes of the government. As a more mature human being, you've kind of crossed that little mountain of maturity in some way, like another level. Not saying that if you're younger than 30, that you're not mature. That's not what I'm saying. But, you go through this Saturn return approximately every 30 years. Usually Saturn's energy gets a little bit lighter after the age of 40, like around 40 and after, and so it just takes a really long time. It is something you have to work on. If you know what zodiac sign your Saturn is in and what house it is in, you can kind of understand what struggles you're trying to learn. And usually it's very hard. It's not easy for you, or it doesn't come easy for you. You always have to work really hard in this department in life, no matter how hard you try, and it will just keep testing you. Saturn is like the strictest teacher in school, and nobody wants this teacher. But the teacher is that way because that person actually wants you to do really well. Like if you had the strictest teacher in high school and you survived that teacher, and they put all these red marks, all these lines, and you thought you did so well, and you get it back and you're like, I got a freaking D or an F, and there's all these lines, and like, how can I do extra credit or whatever? And you turn it in and you get it back and you get even more red lines. You're like, and then you see Jilly Bo Bob and Sally Mae Sue in the other class with one of the most fun, easy teachers, and they're getting A's and they hardly have to do anything, and you're like, ugh, it's not fair. Like, this teacher is going to ruin my GPA, and I'm not going to be able to get into the college that I want because I just happen to get a really hard teacher. But if you really survived that really strict Saturn teacher who did not take it easy on you because they wanted you to survive, they wanted to teach you the things the right way so well right now while you are under their wing, under their guardianship. So this way, when you're off in the real world where life is actually hard, it's not that bad because you actually went through brutal training under the shelter or mentorship of a teacher, if they actually approached it like a mentor, because I know not all teachers have the time to do stuff like that or care, so that is Saturn. It is brutal, it's hard, it's nitpicky, it's a pain in the butt, and it keeps kind of like setting you back over and over and over, delays. It makes you end up doing more work. You have to try and fix the work that you already thought you did, and you don't even know what you're doing wrong because you thought you were doing pretty well, and they have to find something else for them to nitpick at you, and so once you go to college or whatever, you survived, it's a piece of cake college is a piece of cake because you did the brutal training. You're already prepared, while the other Sally Mae Sue, whoever, Billy Joe Bob, went to the easy teacher, and now they're struggling. They're making D's and F's, having to repeat classes, pay for more tuition. They're not able to have fun in college and go to parties and stuff because they're so busy now trying to figure it out because they got the easy way in high school. So that's another way to kind of try and comprehend this Saturn archetype, because Saturn is freaking slow. It is no fun. It always has setbacks. It makes you feel really squeezed wherever it is. Like if you have Saturn in the 5th house, the house of fun, house of play, dating, self-expression, it's the Leo house. It's going to be like, I'm not allowed to have fun, you know, and it's all these different outliers that it's not even your fault. It's just, it's happening to you, and it's, or maybe you chose something, you know, you chose to get married and you chose to have a kid, and now you have to be more responsible. There's less time to just go off and have fun and do whatever you want. You have responsibility, because Saturn is responsibility, duty, burdens, restrictions, like, oh, we need to go to the doctor's appointment, or, you know, we have to say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't go to this party because my kid is sick and I don't want to get y'all sick, and blah, blah, blah. You know, it is that responsibility, that squeeze, restriction in that house or that zodiac sign, or a mixture of both. So I hope I tapped into everything I wanted to say about Saturn energy. I'm a Capricorn sun, so I understand this sad story of Saturn. It is no bueno. And but it's actually very rewarding, because you actually grow, evolve, learn. That builds self-esteem, that builds resilience. You feel proud of yourself that once upon a time, like, I never talked. I'm not curious. I'm an observer, and it took me a long time to practice speaking and feeling comfortable, not having social anxiety, and learning how to ask questions. It sounds really stupid, but that's what happened for me. I have Saturn in the 3rd house of Sagittarius, and I happen to have my Chiron in the opposite, Gemini, in the 9th house. So we'll also check out your Chiron sign in the zodiac sign and the house that one is in, because they kind of might relate to each other. Because your Chiron wound, you tend to want it, or you want to be better at it. And sometimes your Saturn is going to be somewhere to where it might force you to help actually take the time over the years or whatever to kind of slowly build up and work on that Chiron wound placement over time. If you choose to work on it, because you can always choose to run away and escape and not face the reality of the situation, whatever that is for you. So that concludes my intro for Saturn. And in the next segment, hopefully I have time to just timestamp where the real zodiac sign starts. So yeah, check that out. So yeah, and please like and subscribe. Comment down below, what is your experience with Saturn? Most likely it's going to be sucky, sad stories. So just don't forget that you are on a public platform if you're sharing or oversharing. So yeah, okay, bye. Okay, Saturn and Pisces. What is Pisces? Basically, it's the 12th sign of the zodiac. It is the wisest sign, as it is apparently gone through all 12 of the zodiac signs. So you are like the Fu Manchu, or the monk that is meditating and has such superpowers that it's floating in the forest or the mountain or whatever, and is at peace. And you just have a knowing and you're very intuitive, almost psychic, and your eyes are closed and you are one with the universe. And you can even feel or sense the person coming from the very bottom of the mountain, even though they're nowhere near you. You know that something is coming, and it is good or bad, kind of like that. And you are a master. So, like if you are reincarnated to come down here again in this sign placement, then it's like, oh my God, you have like even more wisdom to learn than the wise monk on the mountain, like than the master of spirituality, the master of whatever, the unknown, like there's a lot more that you have to learn. And it's like, what more can you learn? You're the wisest sign of the zodiac, and so Saturn being in this sign squeezes it, makes it very difficult, scary, anxious, fearful. It kind of blurs the lines of boundaries, and so, it's trying to teach you how to have healthy boundaries, how to not escape from reality or escape from what you're trying to learn, because it's hard. It's repeating over and over and over again, all this emotional stuff, it's in a water sign, a mutable water sign. Mutable water is like blah, like there's no organization to it at all, no structure. It's really hard to grasp, really hard to collect, the oil from the ocean water, and try and get all of it, it's just like all over the place. And Saturn is trying to kind of create some kind of container or structure of healthy martyrdom, if you do that, or healthy boundaries, healthy being compassionate, like not trying to escape from your responsibilities or escape into an illusion fantasy of you can't save yourself. So, or you're sick and tired of always kind of self-sacrificing yourself for someone else. And now you're going to go fall in love with a illusion fantasy of someone else saving you. So this way you don't have to do anything. And then you go through another thing because you've like, you became a self-sabotager and didn't see the reality. It's almost like having psychosis. If you've ever had psychosis, I would think that most of you have not. I have. So if you check out my book that's coming out in the second half of that book, it's kind of describing my psychosis episode, which is very fascinating in an astrological way and picking it apart and all that stuff. But like with psychosis, things look very vivid and real, but it's also off. There's something off with it. And so this is also trying to teach you to trust your intuition, trust your inner knowing, trust your inner guidance, because you are already so wise, that, you do know more than maybe you take credit for, or when childhood, like it was very confusing. Maybe there wasn't clear boundaries, so you wouldn't even know what that is. If you grew up in a house that was very confusing, it looked fine to you. Maybe, you went through, unfortunately, real hardship, but it doesn't have to be played out like that. But you can possibly take on the role of kind of being the parent of your own parent, or being the strong, mature, old person, even though you're born in a young body, and the atmosphere of your parents was just kind of confusing, manipulative, maybe filled with mental illness or depression, negligence, or just being absent, like one or both was kind of offloading in their own dream fantasy and not actually being present with you. And so that creates a very confusing environment for the child. And now it's really confusing to discern what is a healthy boundary, or what is manipulation, or how much is too much, or feeling bad for not self-sacrificing, but then always feeling like a victim because you self-sacrifice a little bit too much, or you overgive a lot, and then you overgive too much to the point where you feel drained, and then you feel bad, and then you don't want to. So it's just trying to teach you that you can still be your individual self, to trust your gut and your intuition, because you might be psychic, but you might not believe it, or believe that things like that even exist. But it is trying to teach you real spirituality, because Pisces is like the spiritual unknown, true faith. It's not like Sagittarius energy or religion, because Sagittarius rules the house of belief systems, higher belief systems, or education, religion, things like that. But that is, if you think about it, that is like the written form of that, which some people need, like people need whatever format of faith that resonates with them during that time period. And maybe you are a diehard, religious follower of whatever religion you follow, because you might feel like if you don't follow that, then you're a bad person, or something really bad is going to happen to you, or you're trying to connect more with God, or more with the, unknown, the oneness of all creation, but it's really hard to feel that connection, and so, going through the Saturn, which makes you go through hard stuff so slow, over and over and over again, in a sign like Pisces, which is the unknown. The subconscious mind is trying to make you wake up, or like, in order to wake up, you have to go through crap over and over and over again in order for you to finally get it, because spiritual people, or if you become a healer, which most people who have a lot of water sign energies tend to become healers, especially if you have water signs in your 2nd, 6th, and 10th houses. You are most likely going to make a living in some way through helping others, healing others in some sort of way. And usually, to truly do that, you have to go through the underworld. You have to go through pain and suffering so much to where like, you almost feel no feelings anymore. You are now the rock for other people, to be there for them during their healing process, because it is a very emotionally unstable place, and it can feel like a wave of emotions, going, up and down, and just so uncontrollable, and the pipes are leaking in your eyeballs. And, like, Saturn is trying to toughen you up and solidify this wavy fish tank that has no walls, like a fish tank, so this way you can contain that powerful emotion in order to, help others heal without them draining you as well. So learning healthy boundaries and not allow other people to manipulate you, because you are so nice and so giving, and maybe living in fear of not doing enough because something bad is going to happen, or you were told that something bad was going to happen to you if you do not do X, Y, and Z, or follow the path of X, Y, and Z, whatever that is for you. So Saturn in Pisces can also be kind of blocking or limiting your creative abilities. So Pisces is one of the creative signs, like comes from, anything, like it's endless possibilities. You can be very imaginative and playful, and maybe have an imaginary friend, or, go off on these fantasy things. And maybe in childhood, you were somehow shunned from doing that. You were too much or too imaginative, and a parent or both didn't like it. They were very strict on you, tried to suppress your imaginative ways. And, like you had to quiet it down in some way. You couldn't just express yourself in a imaginative way anymore. And so you suppressed and suppressed, possibly, which is not healthy. So you kind of people pleased in order to please a or both parents, in order to behave well or not make their life more chaotic and messy, or, if they couldn't, one or both could not control their emotions, and you had to be there for them, or you had to sacrifice your imaginative childlike behavior for a parent or both, and so you had to suppress it or cut it off. And Saturn is trying to, make you unlearn and unpeel those layers of fearing that creativity and expansion and compassion for others. If you have resentment or like deep inner anger, no matter how, calm, cool, and collected you may express yourself on the outside, maybe you have some kind of suppressed anger for not being allowed to be your authentic and intuitive emotional self. So when you suppress, it's really hard. If you are going through emotional times, it's an explosion of waterworks and emotion and feeling, and may make you feel emotionally uncontrollable. And it is trying to teach you how to be more emotionally in control, so that you can actually be present and be there for other people who actually need you or need you to help heal them, but within limits, because Pisces has no boundaries. And so if you don't learn these lessons or escape, because Pisces has escapist tendencies, it's one of the signs that can become alcoholics, drug abusers, sex addicts, people who just go hide in the closet and read books all day long and live in their imagination and never connect with the real world, because denial is bliss. Then, you can start imagining things that are not real, and they become real to you, and you might become the crazy person. Or like you believe in something that is so wildly creative and made up that, you might self-defeat yourself or become someone that you're not. Hopefully not. But you're actually very, very imaginative if you kind of work on this or learn to express it. So it can be like Saturn trying to teach you to learn how to express and be open with your extreme creativity, and not feel like guilty about it, or feel like you're going to be shunned or a bad person, or something bad is going to happen to you if you express your extreme creativity, because you are someone who has a lot going on in your mind in a fantasy way. You might have sexual fantasies also, because Pisces can be one of those, like a cosplay type of fantasy, and it's hidden in a hidden sign in the bedroom, or you just kind of escape in a romance that's far away and not real, because Pisces is the opposite of Virgo. And Virgo is the most real, mundane, earth thing that a zodiac sign can be. And Pisces is the exact opposite. It's just out in the imagination world, where you can dream of your romantic relationship that doesn't even exist, and it makes you feel certain things, just like in movies or books that, are erotic, or just like 50 Shades of Grey or something like that. You could even be a writer of something that is very imaginative, especially if you have it in like a communication house, like the third, ninth, maybe the 11th. So, depending, go check out which house placement that you have this in, and, are you willing to be brave and put forth your talents, out there? Because there's a lot of fear with this, because it is Pisces, the sign of like when you're sleeping, so it might be even harder, or takes longer to kind of push through, because it is in a sign where it's like you're unconscious and asleep. And you might not awaken to this as quickly as maybe another sign, because it's just like kind of deciphering through your own delusions and hallucinations is kind of really hard to grasp. Like if you think energetically wise, you don't learn something like that in a book, or it's not easy for other people to teach you that. Like Saturn energy in general is like when you're growing up, wherever your Saturn is placed, it's like you didn't get much help with this. You didn't have a good example of what this placement should look like in a healthy way. So if you have no mentors or guidance, then how are you supposed to kind of figure it out? So it takes a little bit longer. And something like discernment and kind of working through manipulation, because when people are kind of covertly manipulative or trying to get their way or playing a victim and kind of playing with your emotions so that you do something for them, or they get something out of you, or they believe that you're naive because you're so nice, and so they take advantage of you. And sometimes they're not even fully conscious of what they're even doing. They're trying to survive, but they know how to pick the quiet, sheltered people who don't speak up or don't say anything, or too afraid to say something stupid or dumb. Like they know how to pick the people who are a lot easier to kind of seclude off into loneliness, and so you might feel like a loner or nobody understands you, and you just choose to isolate yourself, because Pisces is one of the signs of isolation and kind of needing to be alone, like feelings are so overwhelming. Or if you're intuitive and empathetic, like you can kind of absorb the energies and emotions around you, and that can be very overwhelming, or you don't know what is yours and what is theirs. You can't decipher whose emotions are you actually feeling. And so you need to take time alone to kind of unsponge yourself, like be a dry sponge and not a wet sponge. What else here? Pisces represents like mental asylums, places of isolation, prisons, hospitals, far distant lands, places of worship where it's quiet and you can kind of meditate. I mean, it can be your freaking bathroom, like I'm in the bathroom and I'm alone, and you can kind of just sit on the toilet and think about your thoughts. That's a place of isolation, as long as you're not bothered, so it depends on your perception of what that is. Just be careful of escaping, because if you escape and escape and escape and live in denial and not learn how to trust your intuition and your feelings and your gut instincts and your inner knowing, because you are wise, then you can kind of hurt yourself more, by staying in something that you knew that it wasn't good for you, or you had a hunch that, you know, this or that was going on beneath the surface, but you didn't want to believe it, you know? So it's kind of like psychosis in a way, but it's real. Kind of think of, you know, in art, the style of painting, pointillism, you know, like you are all one, you are connected to, you know, the collective of humanity. You're just one dot within the collective, you know. So, you know, like you're an important piece. So don't seclude yourself or hide your imagination from the rest of the world, or what you know, your wisdom. You know, once you get through your first Saturn return, and the lessons, whatever those are for you, you have something to give back, whether that's small or on a grand scale. You have something to give back, and because you've overcome a lot. And so it's almost like pointillism in, you know, like I forgot the artist. It's like a Sunday afternoon, you know, it's a famous painting, but, you know, from far away, you don't notice that all these tiny little dots that are, you know, bringing the picture to life, or dots, you know, but far away, it's the whole collective that's working together to create a large image with like a picnic and ladies and gentlemen in nice dress and by the lake and dogs and such and such. So, you know, you are an important piece to the collective. And if you're strong, learn to use your voice, learn to heal, learn to discern, you know, and trust your inner knowing, then you can actually help a lot of people. So that is my Saturn in Pisces. That's concluding the Saturn, all the Saturn signs. Check out your house placement as well. There's a playlist. If you click on the Natasha's Creative Wellness title, I can't pronounce anything correctly because I have Chiron and Gemini. And then go to playlists, and then you'll find my organized categories of what I have put out there so far. So please like and subscribe if you want to see more coming. Check out my book that's coming out soon. Maybe it'll be an example of, you know, like another spiritual person. You know, you go through the darkness in order to kind of come out more resilient, you know. And I have Mars in Pisces at 28 degrees. So like I kind of feel some of this energy too, but it's just in a different way. So see you next time, and check out my other videos. Okay, bye.